Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycles and a new episode of Cycles TV, which we do once a week, every Monday here on the channel, same time, same place, same day. Thanks for joining me today for a new episode on cycles. What we're doing here, if you're new to this channel, we want to revisit current data sets, mainly market data. We will have a view on what cycle analysis will tell us on some of these data sets. We will use our membership tools to analyze these data sets, to give you some insights how we can analyze cycles and different ideas. The purpose is not to give any kind of forecasting or advice here. It's more on how to learn how to apply cycle analysis, how to pick the right cycles, and that's what we're doing here. So 3 sections for today. The first section, I will do some life cycle analysis with you on current market data. I will use the commodities for today, so gold and silver markets to check for today. Let's see the cycles in there. That's section 1. Section 2, I have a quick update on what's new in also the cycle scanner app. We did even in the last week some important upgrades to some of the feature sets, so you should be aware of what has changed, what you can do today. And last but not least, the third section is always on your questions. So as we are live, please feel free to drop in your questions live in the chat section. I will monitor that, and at least at the end of this session, in our third section, we will take some time to review your questions to answer your issues, questions, or topics you would like to discuss today. So let's get into it for today. Section 1. Let's start. It's about cycles in the silver markets. To kick this topic off, and we did this quite regular here on this channel. If you remember, during the last weeks, we also did an update. So first of all, let's start with the ideas, where I reviewed one of these ideas some weeks ago anyhow, together with you. So here in the ideas section, we have seen from March the study on silver daily. So it was this one here, which I just recalled some weeks ago. So let's use this as a starting point here, which, by the way, you should always have a look at these ideas section. So this is a cycle analysis idea, which was done in, beginning of April. So this where the dark blue line for the silver price ends. This was the point of the analysis. So let's say 6 to 7 weeks ago, with an upswing projection where the light blue is now current data, which was the out of sample data for this analysis, and this was the forecast based on this analysis. In this sense, there was this nominal cycle model from Hurst used to pick the cycles out of the detected cycles, with some cycle harmonics in it. So, but that's an old analysis, just to showcase it worked quite well. So now it is a good point in time to update this kind of analysis. Is one of my recommendations is always never to trust one static analysis, which you have done 6 weeks in the past and then continue for months or weeks to come. So always look for the next important turning point in regards to time on your projection or analysis you did, which, I mean, at least it points an important upturn into the period until August. So if we just see the larger turning point here from the longer term cycles, which tries to be to expected around end August, September. But as we now have 7 weeks of additional data in this data set, we need to update this analysis and check if this is still valid, this projection, or if this has changed. And this is what I want to do with you today now in this section here. Okay, so therefore, let's first clear this analysis up so that we disable the selected cycles here, and then we bring the analysis up to the latest point so that we and I will show you this on the chart here. We will press this right arrow button here, which is where we align the in-sample endpoint here. So click it once and then go on the chart, and just from a timing perspective, move to the day where the endpoint of the new analysis now should take place. So as you know, the light blue data has not been taken into account for the cycle analysis. And now, as you have now reset the anchor for the in-sample period, we can now, after that, we need to press the refresh button. So once we press refresh, the cycle analysis will be updated. So now you see that this data has become also dark blue, which means it has also been taken into account for this analysis. So now we have updated this data set up to today. As always, we check the key cycles here on the spectrum. That's always the first place to have a short look through, so we can see 2 to 3 major cycles here in this peak here. So the first one to start, which I mean for me it's quite easy to spot, is the one with the 219 days, which is standing here out. And you might ask, why not picking the other cycles which appear here with a length of 67 to 61 above this sorted list here. The key way to pick the most important one or the most dominant cycle is you go, this table is sorted by strength. Strength means the most important amplitude impact on your data set, which is what you're looking for. This is then sorted by cycle strength. And then you look out for a good Bartle score also, or high Bartle score, which has been valid. And then I always try to find the longest cycle, which is then in the first section of this list here. So you could go with the 219, which is also the peak which was seen here in the spectrum chart. And then the second one would be the 132, 132 days, which is this peak here, which is listed quite above this section here. So these two cycles would have been the ones you pick. Just to put a composite here, you can pick more, but I never recommend to go with more than 2 to 3 key cycles from the dominant perspective here. What you then can do to fine-tune this analysis, but let's first look out. So the key turning point, and this is what we're looking for, is here still the first section of first period of August. And if you remember, quite similar to what was projected back in March from the other analysis. So just we don't take into account all these little short-term cycles which might come in between. So the projection seems to be still valid moving into August. And now if you want to fine-tune this analysis even more, then one way to do this is look out for harmonic relationships between the detected cycles. Harmonic relationships means that you look for cycles with a multiplier of 2, 3, or even half of the cycle or a third of the cycle. So you look out for nominal harmonics within that. So by using these two dominant cycles, so you would check for cycles within a range of 105 to 108. So this is half of this cycle length or double of this cycle length. So you can do this manually by just checking, okay, do you see half of the length? Same for this 132. To make this more easy, you can also activate this visually with the advanced section, activating now the cycle harmonics. It's here cleared out. We need to put in the data, the right harmonics we are interested in. As we are coming from the idea section with an older example, that's just the reason why we need to add it here, as this harmonics module was added just after that. So this harmonic module, but it's nothing different, just helping us visually in detecting these harmonics here. So it works this way. We would not now pick the 219-day cycle here in this case, and check for the most important harmonic relationship according to this cycle, which are highlighted here in the middle of the screen, using the harmonics of 3, 2, and 0.5 and a third, so half and a third, so 3 and 2, which in this case with a deviation of 8%. So the deviation which is allowed between the cycle lengths is here 8%. So this would then show us that the cycle length of 67 is in the range of 1 harmonic. So you can add now a cycle with a length of 62, which by the way is interesting. Also the one with the strongest strength score here. You could add this to the mix. And now you see how this cycle projection is changing a little bit here on the screen. So there's no major change in regards from the timing perspective, what we're looking for here. So, but that's, if there would be an important change in that, you would not have a valid projection here anyhow. You could now do the same for the cycle with the length of 132. So let's look for harmonics in relation to this dominant cycle here, as shown on the chart, the same which we already picked. So the 67, which is already on 61, 44, 61, 44. So now I've picked these cycles here, which, by the way, you should look always into the past, how the fit of this analysis is then related to past tops and bottoms here, just to align how this projection worked out. At least in the past, it's never an indication that it will work out in the future, but at least you can see that the cycles which we now have chosen based on the two dominant cycles which have been detected by the spectrum, and then looking for harmonics in relation to these dominant cycles, then has brought us to this cycle model here, choosing these 5 cycles here in total for the composite, but mainly based on two dominant cycles and then adding up the harmonic related cycles to this model here. But what we wanted to check if the key projection we did back in beginning of April has changed. So what we see here is that the general outlook has not changed for silver. So that's one topic I wanted to share with you and do an update here together with you. We could do similar on gold. So there's always a kind of dependency in the commodities if you analyze silver and gold, at least for main turning points in these markets. So therefore, instead of just looking at silver, let's also have a look at gold. Which I just did here, but let's start from scratch. So if you want to have a look at gold, you could use the gold futures, which is this symbol ID here, pulling up this data from the Yahoo data feed wrapper, which we provide. So this will bring you the daily data set of the gold futures, which had a similar upturn here. In this case, I will do it a little bit different to see that you can have different ways approaching this data set. So for this data set, I will just change in the pre-processing that we use the calendar days feature, so that we have real calendar days for our data set, not only the trading days. So on the silver days, we just use the weekdays or trading days data. In this data set, I will use calendar days. In most cases, it's not a major difference, but there might be, at least if you apply nominal cycle models to it, it's important which pre-processing you use. And for sure, the cycle length will be different. So you always need to be, or you need to know when somebody tells you a cycle length on a given daily a data set, you need to know if it's calendar days or just trading days. So if the weekend is included or not, otherwise the cycle length cannot be used on this data set. So in this sense, I will just use calendar days, which you see here, which fills missing days. You will see this here in the data set by these, if there's the same data set. So on weekends, while these futures are not traded or we get no data here over the weekend, will be pre-filled with last close, so that from the time axis, we get a real continuous calendar day data set for cycle analysis here in this case. Okay, so the analysis has been performed on that day. So let's do the same procedure here. We will look out for the most important cycles here, which from the amplitude point of view would be this one here with a length of 172, just to kick the analysis off here in that sense. And then we should, we see what's the story here. we see just looking at the major cycle here, that we would look out for this cycle, the dominant cycle, to top somewhere in July. The silver cycles showed us something in August. So that's the simple story out of that, and we can now start to do the same analysis here, looking out for the harmonics related to the cycle length of 172, which in this case is the cycle with a length of 61. Just adding this to the mix here, would give end June, beginning of July. So gold markets tells a cyclic story about topping in July, silver August. So at least I won't count here on each day. So, but as we now have beginning of June, there's no clear indication from the cycles that we reached a major turning point in silver or gold markets yet. We should update this analysis anyhow, day by day, as we even don't treat this cycle analysis as a static forecast. So you need to revisit these data sets day by day if you use daily analysis and check what the projection tells you, and then use these as a timing information. So this kind of analysis, what you do here with cycles, should never be treated alone. If you then use this for your own market analysis, you need then combine other technical indicators, which are based mainly on price information, then price targets, to do your own analysis in regards to putting this into your context. So it depends on your time frame, your risk position, your market position, your entry and exit management, which is not part of this session here. But I hope this showed you how we do cycle analysis using latest data on silver and gold. Let me just quickly check if you had some first questions. So if you have initial questions in regards to silver and gold markets, feel free to push them in. So I will give it a short break and check if this might help us here. So let me bring up some first questions here. Hi Lars, the cycle length is limited to 400. Is there any possibility to increase the scope so you can pick cycles greater than 400? In general, I would recommend, if you look for longer cycle length, in this case, go to the next higher time frame, which is then using weekly data. So when using weekly data in your analysis, this would, and then you can detect cycles up to a length of 400 weeks. So that's at least what you can do now. So that would be my first recommendation. If you want to look for longer cycles, use a longer time aggregation scale. Otherwise, using longer cycles on daily data, you need to ensure that you have much longer history on the daily time frame. So then we can extend it. So that can be done, but Agnes, to do it right now, just switch to the weekly data set. If you want to know how to use weekly data, let me show it to you on this symbol here. So just by adding minus W to each symbol, at least using the Yahoo data feed, it will then load the weekly data for this data set. So, and that's then what can be used if you want to do longer cycle analysis. So now in this case, I have pulled up the weekly data on the gold futures here. So, and now what you see is the length in the cycles in terms of weeks here. So we could choose two. Looking out for this cycle here from a weekly time frame, and you see that now this takes into account almost 20 years of data. But this is now the weekly data. If you want to look for longer cycles than just 400 days. Okay, so let's continue. The LBMA data. Do you see also the calendar day on the LBMA data set, which has been used here? We used the weekdays feature, but let's check this back to give you the right answer here. So this was the example data set. So we just used the example data set from this idea section here, which was uploaded by Makinek. And this was based on weekdays, as you see here. Therefore, I just wanted to show different ways to do it. So the first one was the weekdays example. The second one was the calendar day example. Okay. So would be great if we have time to look at copper HG. Yes, why not? So we'll do this in a second, or let's just pull this up. So I think, is this the right future symbol? So I just used HG for the future symbol here to pull up this data. Please drop me a note in the chat section if this is the right. Sorry, I need to organize myself. If this is the right commodity symbol here for the for copper here in this case. So, but let's just, as I'm awaiting your confirmation, let's just look at this data set. So we had a huge upturn in regards from the daily data. So I would recommend first to add a little bit more history to this data set. Yes, HGC? Oh, no, it's... No, so you mean HG, right? Okay, so let's add more history to this data set so that we can have a little bit data where we have cyclic behavior. And so that's the reason I want to add more data, so that we see some cyclic behavior in the main data set. So in this case, going back to 2015 is okay. So we see some cyclic moves here. I will now update the analysis to take into account this full selection here. That's why I press reset range button, which will make then this as the full data set here. So now the dark blue data set. Okay, price looks right. So this is now the copper data set. So now we can check what the spectrum will show us, which shows a clear peak. This is always interesting at one cycle length of 260 days, which is also showing up here at the top of the list, which is a good Bartle score, very high strength score, and a very prominent amplitude here. So therefore, this seems to be a very interesting cycle. I also check back the behavior of this cycle. So if it relates to cyclic bottoms and cyclic highs in this data set or tops, which looks quite nice here, even going back to 2015, 2016, the low, or let's make it either, so the low here in that point, topping here, then the next low here, then here high. So always see this as a timing indication. Then the next low or upswing starting here in June 2017, moving into this topping period here in October. Then a sideways move. So this cyclic downswing here resulted in a sideways move of copper here, or even to make this a little bit more visible. So this is often a situation you will realize once you have the downswing projected here and the market moves sideways. This can be seen if you are in a strong uptrend, for example. So the cyclic is a detrended information, so it's quite common in uptrend that the down cycle phases will result then in sideways moves. But then, maybe this low here, then this little upswing here, and then the next downswing started. This was 2018, 19. So here, this nice swing from the low here in 2018 into the topping period of April 2019, with the next down move here into, so here you see the clear cycle from here to here, which is then here. So this looks like, and that's why I check this in from an historical point of view. you can clearly see that this seems to be a valid cycle. Now, what's important or interesting in the current past, that this full cycle was skipped once, and we are now at the next important turning point here. So this might happen. So this is the strong uptrend, which is now running from the last cycle low until the next or the upper next turning point. But this could be also then in harmonic, so that it just ignored this one phase here. But we need to see if this cycle gets back into tune here at this point in time. So at least using this most dominant cycle here, which is clearly seen also in the spectrum here, then let's move now into the harmonics to pick the subcycles for this data set, which in this case, using the 260, would then bring us to the 133 cycle, which could be added to the mix. But if we switch it on and off, and this is also what I'm trying to do often here, it won't alter the projection what we are interested in. So moving down into the September period here, and what would be another harmonic here? So the 133 is 62. So 62 is right above this cycle, by the way. So it's not only in harmonic, it's also from the strength, a very interesting cycle and a good Bartle score. So this should also be added. But you see from the general behavior, it does not alter the overall projection here. So it looks like without any additional analysis or recommendations, that the key cycle of 260, and in this case, we're talking about calendar days, what you see here. So this analysis was using calendar days, using, I think now the last 7 years, from 2015 to 2021 up to today. So 6 years of data on copper shows us the key cycle of 260, which is, it has been skipped in the last section here, but in the past it was a very prominent cycle. So let's see how this works out. But Sean, I hope at least you see we are live here, and I'm trying to help you out if interested questions comes in. Yes, it is calendar days. So I'm just checking your latest question. This analysis was using calendar days, right? And you can always cross-check that in your own setting if you go to configuration, pre-processing, and check the calendar days. Okay, so this was section 1, where I wanted always to review some data sets, so to give you first some real data, and second a little bit that you can monitor how to do your analysis. The second topic for today, and I need to go over these topics with you, is about updates. We always improve our feature sets. So that's why this session is always the place to be, to get the latest updates, what happened. And we had always requests from you, what should be improved. And we didn't that not only in the past, we do this day by day, week by week. So we will improve our feature set for you as our members here. So one question which was coming for the last weeks anyhow, that the advanced configuration possibilities which we have, for example, the cycle harmonics, which I showed you today, or even the auto-composite feature or the cycle skew, which have been there for quite a longer time, which have been in development mode and have now been put in the analysis version as a productive version. So that's also the reason we will make piloting new features available to everyone. And once they are more or less ready for production, we need to decide what is the best group to put it there. And therefore, this is more advanced knowledge which is required. So it might not be for everyone. And it requires a lot of more maintenance, and also to make the analysis really fit from a data set so that there are no errors. And so therefore we call it advanced for the analysis. But that's the point I wanted to make. You can save these settings now in your profile settings, which didn't work before. So before, and if you like the harmonics model, for example, and you pulled up another data set, the harmonics model was disabled. So you can now save this in your preferred settings, and this will pull up the harmonics module time and time again. So how do you do that? So whatever is done here in this advanced section can be saved as a permanent profile. So in this case, if you like the harmonics module, we can turn it on. And if we press the set button, this is important. It will not be saved automatically. If you want to save this configuration in one of these two slots, profile 1 or profile 2, you need to press the set button here on the top. So once you press the set button, now this configuration is saved as a standard setting for profile 1. So, and you can now move out. So if you go to whatever other data set, like the volatility index, and you now see the harmonics module is always showing up there. This was not the same some days ago. You always needed to go to the advanced configuration, activate the harmonics module. So now you have saved this in profile 1. If you click profile 2, you see it disappears because I have a different profile 2 selection. If you click profile 1 again, the harmonics module appears again on your screen. So that's the first important update we did. It might not be obvious, but the advanced configuration topics can be made permanent in your profile, which makes your work much more easy moving forward in your analysis. The second topic, which caused a lot of headache by lots of users, is the data upload feature. The data upload works in the My Dataset sections where you can upload new data sets. And you also remember in the analyst version, we removed any limitations on that. So you are now free to store whatever data sets in this section. But there are often questions in regards to what's the right format in regards to uploading data. So the first hint I want to give is if you click this little information icon, it will show you a very simple explanation of how the data set looks like. But that's not new. That's just the short hint. One thing we have seen always, which caused a lot of questions, is that if you don't use the comma, which is the important separation character you need to use, you can nowadays also use a semicolon, because in a lot of countries and a lot of pre-settings in your applications, it will export the data as a semicolon, so not using commas as separator, using semicolons, which caused some troubles in importing data set, which will work nowadays. So you can use commas, semicolons, and we even make the identification of the data value. So if the header is called close or a value, it makes no difference, or it will detect this automatically. So the data upload function is now more flexible in automatically detecting how your data set is pre-configured. So this might solve a lot of upload issues. And second, maybe to mention as a short hint, if you're working with data uploads, you can always extend your data set which you previously uploaded. So if you're not aware of that, so often that's the case, you just once upload your data set with a lot of historical data, for example, 10 years of data, but you only need to do this once. And then moving forward in time, you just can append new data to this data set, like new days or new intraday data from the last trading day or whatever. You don't need to upload each and every time the full history of the data set. So it keeps the historical data. That's why these data set and even the unlimited version makes sense. If you're dealing, for example, with manually uploaded intraday data sets, you only need to append the last trading day of your analysis or the last week if you analyze 2-hour charts. For example, if you just want to append data, it might not be obvious as the button is not there, but you just go to upload. You just need to upload your file where you have the extended data in, so without all the history. And once you select to save your data set, which is then happening on the next screen, you just put in the name of your existing data set in. And then you will get a request. Do you want to overwrite the full file, or do you just want to append new data? So try it out on your own. If you have an existing data set, just upload an extended version and put in the same name when you want to save it, and you will see it will show up a request towards you if you just want to append or overwrite, which makes handling of manual data sets much more easy. And third but not least, you might also see, or I mentioned in the past that we don't provide own data feeds, to say this upfront. So we provide or we facilitate access to different data vendors which offer free data. So for example, the Yahoo data feed. But to maintain this access, we need to ensure that we don't touch their data feeds too often, so that we don't get blocked, so we don't overload the data feeds and so on. So it's not as easy as you might think from a technical perspective. So in that sense, we use caching in between, which might lead that we don't always update all historical data, which might lead to the situation that the historical data set in the past might have been updated, for example, by Yahoo, by stock splits or whatever, and you don't see the updated data set in the scanner. So this might happen. And in order to give us a hint to resolve this issue, you can raise bug reports. But these bug reports have not worked during the last 2 weeks. So if you might have already raised the bug reports towards us, it might not have been resolved. So I need to excuse for that, but it's a new feature, but it has been solved now. And not only that, so if you see wrong data in whatever data set, that's the way to do it. You see these bug symbol here, yeah, report dataset bug. In whatever analyzer function you're using, you can press this icon, and then this will raise towards us a request to review that there might be an error in this data set. Just send the request and you're good to go. And now you also have the option to check your handed over bug reports. Yeah, so if you click on the menu in bug reports in the settings area, which is a new feature now, you will see your raised bug reports and the current status. So if you wonder if these bugs have been solved already or not, you can check the status in the settings sections and see if we have reviewed your bug report and if it's resolved or not. So this makes it easier for you to see if something has been adjusted already or not. So you get feedback, and now it is working. So I apologize that it might not have worked during the past weeks. So please raise this bug request again if you had already done so far. It might not be important for everyone, but this helps us cleaning up historical data access for everyone, which would be a good point for everyone. Yeah, that's at least the 3 information I want to bring to you, so that you see we always improve our membership services here. So that's at least the updates for today. So let's now finalize today's session with your questions. So I will check back towards your important question. Okay, there was then also this question. Could you confirm or explain again the ratios to choose for the harmonics? Yeah, thanks for bringing up this question. And I'm very fast and maybe moving over all these features. So please give me a sign when I'm talking too fast over these topics here, but yes, let's go back to this topic here. So you asked about the harmonics, or which harmonics to choose. Let's use this gold one. Yeah, exactly. So I started with using the 2 dominant cycles here, the 219. This one here, and then I added the harmonics. The harmonics section is here in the center, and first of all, it comes with a predefined harmonics of 3 and 2. Yeah, so and to be honest, it's just using the half and the third. It's just using the same harmonics, then just moving below. So in this case, the key harmonics, and this is also a finding by Dewey, which is the founder of the foundation. If you review his publications, so the harmonics with 2 and 3 are very common harmonics. You could change the harmonics module if you are more experienced and want to add whatever other harmonics you want to like to add to this data set. You just put them in here and they will automatically be taken into account by the section here. You see, just while I'm typing, they will be taken into account. Yeah, you see now the relations are shown here. And if you browse or if you hover with the mouse over these sections, you will see of the cycle you are interested in, the connections to the harmonic model you put in here. But the one I would recommend to start with is the harmonic model of 2 and 3, and also using half of the dominant cycle and a third of the dominant cycle here. So that's the at least the short answer to your question. And then you need to define an error which is allowed, because you will never see the exact harmonic in the cycle length. And you can choose which error rate you want to allow. Yeah, if you define, so if there is no error ratio allowed, then there is also only the exact harmonic allowed, which will then only bring us a one. Oh, I need to pick this 219 cycle again. You will see that there's no exact harmonic, and then you will see how the harmonic module updates just on the fly. So as I higher the allowed error rate here, now it's an error rate of 5%, you see that more and more harmonic relations show up. I would never recommend to go beyond a 10% error ratio which is allowed, which makes the range too high. But yeah, at least 10% or 8% is at least the error ratio which I would allow, and then the 219 which would show us or indicate the harmonic relation to the cycle length of 67. So yeah, that's how I did it, or that was how I used this, and these have been the ratios I chose for harmonics, at least in this simple example here. I mean, choosing the right harmonics or even more complex harmonic ratios is a topic on its own, but at least it shows you how you can do this activating the harmonics module. Okay, this was in regards to these harmonics. Yeah, right. So this is a static harmonic relationship. You're correct in this sense. Yeah, there are also others out of the community which use an error rate of 5%. So I think this would be a good way to start, somewhere between 5 to 10%, not more than 10. Maybe you need at least to allow 5%, otherwise, because they will never be as exact dealing with real life data, so you will never find the exact harmonic. So yeah, between 5 to 10% I think is a good way to go. Yes, Agnes also pointed out some other ratios, so thanks for bringing these up. I think it might be useful to make a dedicated session on cycle harmonics here and how to use it. But thanks for sharing your harmonics you're using, so even the smaller harmonics which you put in. By the way, if you're dealing with harmonics, the musical scale is also very interesting to use, but I will set up a special session on harmonics here. Okay, so Mark, yes. Oh, what a great idea. I think I may write an article on harmonics. Would this be useful? For sure. And Mark, if you do this, I would also invite you here to this live session to just join me as a guest, and then we can discuss the harmonics. So this would be I would very welcome this. So if you write a short article, we can publish this on the Cycles blog in the forum. And once I did a first check, I would like also to invite you to show here up as a guest, and then let's discuss the harmonics or your experience with harmonics here. So thanks for the opportunity, or thanks for the offer. I would like to get your article on the harmonics. Okay. So maybe one final question, a lot of questions are also related to data feeds. I just see see them popping up here. Premium data feeds like, for example, DTN IQ for future integration. So, and another question on the, I think there was also the question on the cans. Is it possible to guess 4-hour data by writing? So for our data sets. So I think the DTN IQ question, like with premium data feeds or intraday fidelity, is an important point. We realize you need to, or which would make life easier. So the first answer is, you know that by the latest upgrade, the time axis on the cycle scanner can now deal with intraday data sets, just to ensure you are aware of this feature. And this is important if you want to get exact forecast. There's this session configuration where you need to put in, or should put in, the trading session of your intraday data if you want to get correct projections. But I excuse, this was not your original question. So right now you need to manually upload intraday data sets. So moving forward, we are thinking about improving the way also to bring in intraday data sets for you. And there are 2 ways we are currently investigating if we move forward in time. So one topic is so that you can connect your existing data feeds. So in most cases, you will have data feeds already. So it makes no sense for the foundation to provide or to sell data feeds, because in most cases, you will have some kind of data feed like DTN IQ, or if you use TradeStation, which also has an embedded data feed. So whatever there is, we want to get to a point where you can connect your own data feeds. We are not there yet, and we need to find a way to make this easy. And this is also a connection which needs a lot of maintenance and security in order that it's still working. So it sounds easy, but once you use it, you also want to have a service uptime guarantee, which is not as easy because we are foundation for the study of cycles, and we are not so deep in this data feed topic. So the short answer is, we are thinking about this as a future integration to make intraday data access more easy to you. I can't answer right now how this solution will look like. So if it's DTN IQ as first solution, if it be a TradeStation API connection, and I cannot make any expectation on the point in time when this will arrive. But we hear you, so this is the answer I want to give you today. We are listening to your requirements, and this is a request which was raised quite a lot of times. And we are taking this currently into consideration how to bring this, or how to make this happen for you. We just don't want to resell data feeds, so therefore there won't be a foundation data feed, at least not for intraday. So we might need to think about how to make this available. Okay, so yes, it will show up. Don't push me too hard on the expected time of arrival of this feature. Okay. On the Dewey books, I'm not on this one, but we are working on a contract with prominent publication houses to republish Dewey's books. Books. I was on the bug report still, so excuse for that. No, we are talking on Dewey's books. And especially we are talking right now with the prominent publication house on Dewey and the case for cycles and his main book. And it will, I think in short of time, we can announce that these books will become available. Mark, don't get shy here. But it's not a must. So let's first, we can even go through your comments here, topic by topic. Yeah, motive rave trade view. There are different ways on how to do this. So at least the thing I can promise here today is that to deal with intraday data will show up. I will keep you updated here on this Monday show. So just see the progress here. I can't give you a concrete answer today on that, but we are improving on that. So you also the question on when the problem of mixed post and pre-split data in cycle analyzer be resolved. Yeah, this relates to the bug reports feature I mentioned. So if you raised a bug request already during the past 2 or 3 weeks, I need to apologize because this feature didn't work as expected during the last 2 weeks. We revised this feature. It is now working, and you can now visit the, if you see still this problem with the post and pre-split datasets, please again raise the dataset bug report to us. We can process this now, and you will see the update in your My Bug Reports section here. Okay, so I think, yeah, we are running almost out of time, but I think the 3 topics I wanted to address, I mainly did. So just to wrap today's session up, we did a live analysis on the commodity gold and silver. So I think you got a feeling on current cycles in these markets. I even did the copper analysis with some live feedback. So I hope this shows you it's always worth to join here and drop in your questions, so you get a live analysis if you have some luck, which I like to do. So drop me your symbols or markets you're interested in, and we can just pull out a cycle analysis. Second, I hope you get aware of the 3 updates we did during the last weeks. Third, always a pleasure to answer your question, and I think for today, Mark promised to deliver us an article on harmonics, so I think this is a key topic we will follow up. So just to put some pressure on you, Mark, but don't take it personal. So looking forward for whatever. Last but not least, yeah, you know that we have now raised the upgraded version or brought live last week the upgraded version, which there is a bonus for everyone, I think running until end of June or 23rd of June. So this is a 4 weeks bonus you can get if you decide during the first first 4 weeks that you want to use the upgraded analyst version. So if you have questions on this bonus or the coupon, please reach out to Mark McVeigh, our operating officer, which is also here in the chat section. So Mark, please drop in also your email contacts, please. So that you can reach out to Mark if you're not aware of the benefit or the upgrade or the bonus or the coupon you might be looking for. Yes, that's it for today. So revisit the upgraded version for the analyst. It's a feature where you get your bonus during at least for the next 3 weeks. The harmonics module is one of these features, which is part of the analyst version. You see that the intraday will improve moving forward. It's not there yet, but we are working on that. And I am looking to meet you again next week here on Monday on this show. Okay, so have a nice week, stay safe, and I want to see you back here on Monday on the Cycles TV. So thanks for joining today. As always, was a pleasure. See you. Bye.
Hello, I'm Dr. Richard Smith, the Chairman and Executive Director of the Foundation for the Study of Cycles. I hope you enjoyed our presentation. I'd like to ask that if you're not a member of the FSC, that you consider joining so that we may continue to bring you high quality cycles analysis research and programs like this. If you're already a member, of course, thank you. Would you please consider making a donation to the FSC? We are a not-for-profit organization, and your donations and membership fees are tax deductible. Every dollar that we bring in goes to further the vision of our founder, Edward R. Dewey. Together, we can make a real difference and bring these critical reports and analyses to the next generation. Thank you for standing with the FSC, and see you next time.